descended into the extended range extra string abyss, where questionable taste rules all that you can see. And I have ascended the infernal hierarchy of jazz fusion wankerdom with the Harley Benton BZ-7000 NT Deluxe 7-string bass. Now, at 599 units of rapidly devaluating Euro fiat, or 609 with a bag that actually fits, nothing in this class has ever been this affordable in the history of human civilization. So, let's address the elephant in the room. Quality. Too long didn't read? It's pretty sweet. The only thing to complain about is the nut slots don't seem to be spaced evenly. The gap is wider between the E and the A, and then they get tighter, and then the gap between the C and F is a little wider again. Other than that, this thing is immaculate, so it's kind of odd they'd have such an imprecision on such an important component. Now, it doesn't seem to affect playability that much to a Neanderthal like me at least, because the spacing tightens up again as you run down towards the bridge. But I could see it pissing people off because a new nut would probably run you $100 because a luthier would have to cut it by hand. Plus, it's pretty conspicuous and sticks out like a sore thumb, so you might want to have a little chat with this quality inspector here. But at least they set the nut at the right height. Everything else is good though, and it came fully playable straight out of the box. The neck was set right. I haven't had to wrench on the truss rod yet, but I think it might need a little relief because it's farting out a little around the 9th fret. It does feel mighty stable though, like it's never going to wobble on you, probably thanks to the 7-stripe neck-through construction, so we can discuss the relative merits of exquisite tone woods like mahogany, ash, maple, Nyato, and glue. The fretwork is nice and smooth and polished, and the ends are rounded like they're supposed to be, and not sharp. The tuners are not the classiest, but they're responsive and they work. The bridge is very logical, 7 individual saddle pieces on a monorail. Mercifully, no string-through body setup that would make it even harder to find strings that are long enough to fit the 35-inch scale. The electronics are fine too. No loose connections, no dirty knob noises, active tone controls for bass, mid-range, and treble, and the volume knob thankfully has a push-pull active-passive selector switch so you can bypass them all. And the response out of the huge honkin' pickup seems satisfying enough. They do say Tesla on them though, and you know what that means. But enough yakking, let's get down to some jamming and address the legitimacy of this whole 7-string bass thing, because it kind of seems like it might be a gimmick. A gimmick that's now cheap enough to justify as an impulse buy if you just sacrifice a few good nights out on the town. So please, allow me to regale you with a disjointed array of random riffs and assorted rambles about stuff I've been working on as I try to figure this thing out. So, as a disclaimer to all of our real musician friends and elite bass players, I think I have an idea of what you're supposed to do with this thing. I think most people would play it with a mute and put some kind of headband thing around the nut so as to dampen all of the extraneous string noises you're going to get when this thing starts vibrating all over the place when you're rocking the high strings. But then you sacrifice your open strings, which I'm not willing to do because I see this thing as more of like a drone instrument that just like calls out to you to play all 7 strings at once or as many as you can. So, to summarize the key points amidst all that riffing, this is tuned in straight fourths, B to F, so it's like a classic 6-string in the style of Anthony Jackson with an extra string on top, something every bassist has always wanted, and that's a plain 17 that's extra twangy sounding. And with a 35-inch scale and extra wide string spacing, it's definitely meant to be played like a bass, finger style, room to get your fingers in, possibly 2-hand tapping, which is the only reason I can see that they didn't make it a multi-scale, because it would really be better to have it long on the B string and short on the F side, but that might make it harder for 2-hand tapping in the style of Tony Levin, to have slanted frets. I don't know. And with a 24 fret 2-octave neck, you can already cover the vast majority of the guitar range. And I can already see purists balk at this, saying, you're playing glorified guitar, or why not just get a guitar? And it's like, yeah. But with an exotic stringed instrument like this, why not just throw convention to the wind and look beyond the edge of your plate, as we would say in German? Think outside the box, because you can really do anything with this, and at a price like this, you can justify adding it to your collection just to mess around with. Because what I see is endless experimentation, and the first thing I thought when I saw the ad for this is like a modern-day theorbo lute, or the logical extension of the baritone guitar, which is why I'm posting it on my favorite forum, Baritone Obsessed. Hi! So you can commit a sin and tune the top 2 strings down a half step and have it be like a conventional 7-string guitar in standard tuning, 1 octave down. So now we got what every bass player has always dreamed about. To be able to do the campfire chords 1 octave down. Of course, the king's discipline would be to play some kind of rudimentary bass line and a top line melody at the same time, which I think would require classical guitar technique or hybrid picking in the style of Steve Stevens or something really difficult, which I'm working on, but it's going to be a lifelong learning process. So if you want to follow this channel, I'm going to be working on making solo compositions for this. But What I really see it for is like a drone instrument to play heavy riffs in a two-man band so you can jam with a drummer and make a ton of noise. This thing has helped me wise up to the wisdom of the highfalutin bass player elite, because now I know why they strap it on up high and wear it like a bass necklace, as Robert DeLeo would say, because that helps remedy the two main problems of the 7-string bass, which are the weight and keeping all the strings under control so they don't make a ton of noise. Because when you have it strapped on up high and your upper body supports it, because at 13 pounds or 5.8 kilograms, it might not sound like a lot, but if you wear it at a cooler looking strap level, it will drag you down and weigh like an anchor around your neck, like an albatross around your neck, pulling you down to the South Pole, and you ain't going to be singing Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner once you get there. You're going to end up with scoliosis. But the bass actually balances pretty well. I mean, it's a good design with a long top horn and stuff. It doesn't neck dive and stuff. It's just heavy. So having your upper torso supports it makes it a lot more manageable. And it also puts your right hand in a better position to keep the B string muted when you're rocking out on the wheedlies on the high string. So that's good. Endless experimentation on a style of instrument that used to be 5-figure unobtainium that very few of us mere mortals would have ever even considered, now made affordable thanks to the magic of Harley Benton. Now, it's not terribly easy to play, and it takes some getting used to. And even if you're not entirely going to use it for completely serious purposes, it sure is fun for $600. And with that, we'll take you out with the all-round carefree outro.